Hello everyone and welcome to the interview today. I'm joined with Rhian. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Now we've got two projects to talk about today. And the first, I'm not going to pretend I don't know what it is because it's mine. So my first question is, how bad is it?
It's very good.
As I know, it was quite difficult with this process because not only was it about finding actors and locations, which can already be a dubious and long process, but this time you had to do it in the sense of finding an accessible location, not only for me, but also finding a disabled actor who was of the correct age range. Tell us about that and how the approach was a bit different.
The hardest part for me was finding a venue. I was quite lucky with finding an actor because somebody applied to the casting call I put out that fit the age range and is in our university. Finding a location was much harder. We had two locations we needed, as you know, and the first one, the pub scene, was an absolute nightmare.
Yes.
Trying to find a venue that is accessible, that has an inaccessible entrance, that also is willing to let us film, hopefully for free, that is willing to portray themselves as an inaccessible pub was very difficult. But luckily we did find one. They were very accommodating and nice.
If there was one thing, maybe as like producer, obviously I know we went through a lot of trouble ourselves, if there's one thing you could have made better, whether it be location or act, what would you say if we had the ultimate budget, what would you have done? So what would have been your one thing you would like to add to the film that we didn't actually get to
find a bigger Airbnb
yes.
that we could have filmed in. It was the one we had was very small, but it was the only thing we could get. It was literally the only property.
Yeah, it was like an Airbnb for one wheelchair, and putting two in there with a bunch of equipment, and camera and cast. It was
get a longer wire so you could see what was going on a bit better. Yes.
But yeah, I'm going to move on to a project I don't know much about. Obviously, you've done your second project, I suppose your first actually. But tell us more about that one.
So it's a food documentary.
What is the difference between producing something that's factual, like a documentary, as opposed to producing something that's fictional?
When you work with factual, you kind of work with what you have. You go to their locations, you need to get people on board that have actually experienced it, whereas when you're doing fictional, you need to find locations that bring your ideas to life, and you need to find actors to portray roles that in factual, they are their roles, so it's finding the people for it.
Yeah, and I'd say my final question, which is always a bit of a fun one, is I always ask any regrets over the past 3 years, anything that you wish you did or wish you could have done? Or
this past year, I have done everything that has been offered to me within, if I can, and it has been the best experience because I've gotten to do trips and go on projects I never thought I would.
Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you didn't mind sitting here for 5-6 minutes. And hopefully you enjoyed that. Goodbye everyone.